With Election Day around the corner, President Obama is weighing in on the race for Congressional District 6. This week he endorsed Morgan Carroll, who is challenging incumbent Mike Hoffman in one of Colorado's most competitive contests. Meanwhile, President Obama also issued endorsements for some of the hotly contested state, House, and Senate races here in Colorado. Craig, it's no surprise a Democratic president endorsing Democratic candidates, but here's the Democratic president with the, I think, depending on where you read it, 57% approval rating. He's doing pretty well. Do his endorsements matter?
Oh, yeah, in the right environment, like CD6. That's perfect territory. This will help Morgan a lot. I've known Morgan Carroll for a long time. I respect her, not just as a person, but as a lawyer. And I didn't like it when Mike Hoffman went after her for being a lawyer. I thought that was a low blow. She has a good reputation. But Mike Hoffman, Donald Trump's so mixed up in that race. At the time that Mike Hoffman made that commercial saying, I don't care for Donald Trump very much, the NBC Marist poll showed Trump trailing by 40 points in the eastern suburbs of Denver. That was at a real low point for Donald Trump. But even if Donald Trump surges, as we just talked about, it won't be in CD6, it won't be in Denver. And so I think Morgan Carroll's got a chance, and I think Barack Obama's endorsement could put her over the top. And just speaking of endorsements, hasn't it been interesting that Cynthia Kaufman has not been visible in any of the campaign of Mike Hoffman? What's up with that?
She might be busy being Attorney General, but I mean, that's a good point. She hasn't been on the campaign trail. Eric, as you look at the top of the ticket gets all the attention, but when you look at the state legislature, state senate, those are razor-thin majorities here in Colorado, and that is usually what affects our lives much more than top of the ticket here in Colorado. Where do you think it goes from what you've seen in the campaign?
The states, most people suspect the state house will stay Democratic, and maybe that margin, which is now 3 seats, 34, 31, it might grow by a few seats. The state senate is the battleground. If the Republicans lose the state senate here, then they have no toehold at the state capitol. You have a Democratic governor, you have a Democratic house. The state senate is the game. Most people think it comes down to 3 contested seats. The Democrats, to take right now, they're down 17 to 18. So to turn that around, they need to win 3 out of 3 because 2 out of the 3 seats, they're playing defense. They're trying to hold a seat. So they need to hold those 2 and pick up 1. Appropriately, all 3 seats are in the Denver suburbs. There's an Adams County seat, there's a Jeffco seat, and there's an Arapahoe County seat. That is where that's the epicenter of Colorado politics these days, and that will be very interesting on election night. To the 6th CD, first of all, I tend to take the Obama endorsements. I mean, when did a Democratic president endorsing Democratic candidates become front page news? I mean, it is just, it's expected. I don't know that endorsements move the meter all that much. You talk about Obama's popularity in the waning days of his presidency, and what's amazing to me is how untransferable that seems to have been to Hillary Clinton. Just as Bill Clinton's popularity in the waning days of his presidency didn't transfer onto Al Gore. Now, part of that was that Gore consciously ran away from Bill Clinton. Hillary is not doing that. She is embracing Obama, both Michelle and President Obama, at every opportunity. 6th CD, if Mike Hoffman can survive this year in this environment, and not just with any Republican at the top of the ticket, but a Republican particularly toxic to immigrant groups, and that 6th CD is a amalgamation of, I'm not just talking about Latino immigrants, I mean it's immigrants of all kinds. If Mike Hoffman can survive this, and I'm not sure he can, we'll see, but if he can survive this, then he is truly untouchable, and he can have that seat as long as he wants, perhaps until redistricting.
Natasha, we're seeing Governor Hickenlooper campaign actively on TV, at least for those 3 hotly contested Senate seats. I'm not really sure if the Republicans really have an equivalent, but we're not seeing anything that's unifying the fight there. When you see the governor of Colorado on TV doing that, is that going to, do you think, sway some of those tight races?
I think it doesn't hurt, but in this race, as in most races in Colorado, it's not about people who are registered Democrat and registered Republican. It's about everyone else in the middle. So it's about whoever they can sway to vote more Democrat or more Republican in this race. So does Hickenlooper endorsement help the middle area? Perhaps. He's had a bit of a tough year, so I think that his popularity is not at its strongest moment right now. But I think that what we're going to see on election election night is a lot of this uncertainty is going to become very, very clear. It's going to be, if this happens, then that happens. If those independent voters lean Democratic, then
Dominoes.
down the way.
Patty, where do you think the legislature ends up this time next week?
I think the odds are good it is still going to have, the Republicans are still going to have the Senate. I'm going with this DU poll right now, and if Trump has 39% of this state, you just have to think, even though the CD6 is not a microcosm of the whole state, you know, Kaufman is a far more respectable character than Donald Trump, and you've got to think he will be able to pull it out if indeed Trump even comes close to Hillary Clinton. And I think probably just because there's enough discontent with the powers that be, the people who are in position, that I think the Senate will stay Republican. I just think people, and it's going to affect some of the ballot measures too. I think people really do not want to vote for the status quo across the board. So maybe we'll see people not doing a straight party ticket, but picking and choosing a little more than before.